and they've
She's
got another one,
she's a good broker and a good soul. Oh my gosh, she helped me so much.
and they've got a new one in Knoxville,
Nashville.
Nashville.
That
Yeah,
kind of makes sense. Nashville's gotten pretty big.
it has. I think we've only got about maybe just under 50 agents here in Chattanooga. So it's growing. Like I said, I brought over five. Couple people are very spearheaded towards growing the company. But I find about 90% of them are still kind of acting like they're independent. I think they came over strictly for splits and they're not really participating in the company. I'd like to grow that myself because I'm a very outgoing. I love to be social. My wife will say
Okay.
I always want to be around people. And, believe it or not, I hate to talk in public. But if it's real estate, it's the easiest thing ever. I remember my dad told me years ago, he goes, nobody knows you like yourself. And that's the easiest way to talk if you talk about yourself. And especially, I love this business so much. It's the best thing I've ever had a chance to do. And you are your own boss. And, if I work 24/7, I'm going to reach my goals. And hopefully I can slow down. In the coming year or so.
Count on it.
Well, and that's the key. Is so you enjoy real estate, you're social, which is really nice. So, what will be nice for you as part of the real broker? And that's one thing we're kind of talking about with branding is that you want to develop your brand, which is if you can. I'm on a split screen, so I don't know what you see or don't see.
Hmm.
That right there is what gets me or gets Kathy and I all of our business is that brand. This brand um, doesn't affect my business or not, but it's to me is that I'm the race car driver. Kathy and I are the race car drivers. DMA's the car, and
Hmm.
then Real's the pit group, the pit crew. They're the ones that help us keep the car running and make sure the oil gets changed and everything like that. But the part that you're going to love, because you're coming in about the same kind of situation that I came in is you're starting to look toward retirement and not having to bust your butt and open doors until into your mid 70s and 80s and stuff like that. And so one of the great things now is that you can use your influence to let other people know that there is a better mousetrap. And it's amazing for us because we've got an independent company here where these people are paying 20% on every deal forever. There's no caps, there's no revenue share, and they stay. And
Understand.
they're leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table each year. And then, but that's just realtors. They don't like change. But for you, the thing is going to be come in and learn exactly what it is that everyone has said it's the greatest thing since sliced bread and everything like that. And you're a little skeptical because you know what? Everyone overpromises and underdelivers. I can tell you from being here for 4 years, there has been no overpromise. They've actually underpromised and they've way overdelivered. I mean, and again, one example of that is I reached a lead agent this week, right? And so when the stock went down a little bit, I'm going because I have $16,000 worth of stock that's gonna based on today's what it closes at today, and I think it's down today. But I'm gonna have 8,000 shares of
It
stock.
was up when I looked this morning.
Now it's down. It's down again.
Crap.
Yeah, down to like 210, 211. The other aspect is the revenue share. I
It
don't,
was 190.
yeah, it went down to 192. Yep.
Oh, well.
But the revenue share, I'm assuming these people that came over are underneath you.
They are. I am actually their sponsor.
Yep.
And I actually came along about 3 years ago. I started going to real events. And I always said I was a broker. And I said it doesn't make sense when it's my baby to move. And, this is before they had basically bring your company along and
Right.
work and co-brand.
Right.
So I got word beginning of March that my landlord was going to sell the office whole building. And I said, well, okay. So I started talking to my wife and started looking at other offices. And she said, have you made any money in your company? I said, I have, but the company hasn't. So I just decided right then I was going to switch over. And it's funny that I've been going to all these events and not one agent ever asked if I was with Real, ever. And
Whom
just
you
kind of
are.
welcomed me. And so Heather Cook is my sponsor and fell in love with her and Brad, her whole story
It's
during,
impossible not to.
yeah, just we're big dog people, and me and her gravitated towards each other, and I said, be my guide, and she has. I mean, she'll call me all the time, and I try to event all the Atlanta events. I met them. I drove 5.5 hours to Charlotte just over 3 years ago, and I met Brad Tompkins and just so many of the other people that are really big ambassadors with the company now. And
Yep.
it's funny, they were just getting into it, making funny videos at the time. And they're 50, 60, $100 million producers now.
Yep.
And I'd love to get to that point. I don't know if I want to be a leader again, but I've always done pretty decent, but I'm growing with the AI, and it's some of these guys are so far advanced that they're great at what they do. I can't say that they're teachers.
Right.
When I hear Katie Day talk, I'm like, girl, you need to slow down. You lost 60% of the audience when you first started talking, but they're brilliant. I
Yep.
think there just needs to be somebody else to layman and dumb it down for 90% of the agents, because I watch the comments in the Zooms and everybody's like, what? What? You lost me? How do you even sign on to CapCut and make a video? And I told Heather, I said, maybe I should be that person because I do 100% of everything. I do my little videos. I do the AI. I'm using Grok to animate photos, and it's good enough. I mean, I met a guy at that Charlotte meeting years ago. Um, oh, what was his name? The guy is just basically he's very cold and tells you quit worrying about perfection and just do it. And so many people worry about the perfection, they never get started. And I think that's the downfall of a lot of agents when you see all this Claude and there's a guy out in Dallas and it's running his entire network. And I'm
Yep.
like, I have no idea, and I'm afraid it will hack my email. All these guys that do some of these things, I think, yeah, you do need a couple people that can learn off them and bring it down to layman terms.
There's no doubt about it. Well, and again, the majority of people, again, but that also creates an opportunity, like you said, though, is that there's always going to be people operating at Katie Day's level on that kind of stuff. But to
Mhm.
me, that's also part of your branding aspect of this too. That the number one thing about branding is being authentic, um,
Mhm.
being your true self. And so we embrace technology, we embrace social media, we embrace AI, but we're still going to be the ones that are going to be reaching out personally, making connections. And our little niche, well, I guess the niche I want to have are people my age or 50, I'm actually 61, but 50 and above. And so
Mhm.
they still want personal touch and everything like that. We use AI to automate everything in our back end, and then also like our lead gen systems, where we've got 40,000 leads in our database. So we'll have AI reaching out to our C and D buyers and stuff. But that's part of this whole branding aspect too. So it kind of leads into that. And I thought I'd have a lot more people coming on the branding one, but and a lot of people signed up, but there you go with realtors in general
Mhm.
is yeah. But the whole thing comes down to is I think it's a really good idea if you were to sit down and talk with Heather and say, how can I take Katie's content and dumb it down, or not dumb it down, but I used to love Cliff Notes and the Idiot's Guide
Mhm.
to those are the books that I read. Idiot's Guide to Investing or Idiot's Guide to where I can put it where 90%
How
of
about
people.
we say beginners?
Well, no, I'm just talking the actual thing because it's
I
called the
know.
Idiot's Guide to.
They
And
do
I
have
don't
a guide too.
Kathy has a problem with the word idiot because I'm a bit. The reason why our thing is called "Be the 10% is that my personal belief is that 90% of realtors are real estate professionals and they're true professionals within the business. 90% of the people in our business are idiots, and I use that as a more of a funny term that they're not professionals. They're doing it part time. I know the number has been used a bunch of times, but 71% of realtors didn't sell a single house. And then it's just a matter of this kind of comes in the brand is what do you want your brand to be and how do I want to do business and who do I want to reach? And then the other aspect that you brought up, which is really cool, is I don't know if I want to be a leader again, or I don't know if I want to do this. How many industries can you make a decision and as you go along, maybe decide, you know what, I want to be the state broker or something like that. There's a lot of opportunities, or I want to run my own team. And you found out by owning a brokerage that um as Kathy clearly knows now is, and I'll tell people that want to listen, is that I made a whole lot more money when I was selling real estate on my own and didn't have a full team or had a small team. As I expanded the team and as we got bigger, I made less and less money and was spending more time doing non-sales type stuff. And then we were actually state brokers for 3 years doing the broker job along with being in full production.
Mm.
And then we had to
I
step,
wouldn't say that.
well, we were in
Quite
production.
the margin.
We were in production, but we had to step away because it started affecting our business. And long term, exactly like you're saying, do I want to be a state broker with all the issues that that has, and or do I want to sell real estate? And just like when we made the decision, again, I may be talking off topic, of course, as I always do, but when we knew that we were going to leave Keller Williams, we were at Keller Williams for 17 years. Our previous broker, we were there for 13 years. And then, but we knew we needed to make a change. And the reason for that being is that people do business with us because of who we are, not the brand. No one cares. And I use the example of when we left Edward Serval, which was our independent, I had 60 some odd listings, right? Unfortunately, one of my clients came in and spilled the beans that I was leaving because no one at my company knew. And then the president of the company came up to my office and basically said, "You need to get out now." So I had to make 60 some odd phone calls to my clients and say, "Here's what I'm doing. Um, you're welcome. I can refer you to an agent at that company, or this is where I'm going. I'm going to Keller Williams. This is why. You're welcome to follow me there, and I'll continue to work with you, or I can get you someone in the company." And as I tell people, 100% of everyone said, "Edward, what? Who?" They had no clue who that company was. They knew me. And then I'll go through kind of the iterations and we'll kind of get right into it. But that's when I really got into branding, that it's your brand. And then also the reason why I wanted to do this branding call is Zoom is with this whole Remax Real thing, right?
Mhm.
I hate to say it, but again, I'm going to use the term, but no one gives a shit if it's Remax, if it's Real, if it's EXP or whatever. They care about they're doing business with you, and that's the key is building your personal brand. So,
Mhm.
And then what we were talking about with the EXP part though is, and you brought this up with Heather and stuff like that, is no one ever got into you gotta join Real Broker. You gotta get my downline. You gotta be this. And if you're not in this silo, you're not gonna get all the benefits. If you go in that silo, oh my God, I had to take a shower after my little cattle call that I went over there, but we were still gonna join. And I told Kathy, I said, I am not a recruiter. I'm a realtor. I sell real estate. If I can do that at a high level and someone wants to talk to me about my company, great. I'm not going to recruit. And that was the only way that model made sense to me. And I'm not putting it down because we're basically a copy of it. And then, and Real wasn't even in existence at that point. I didn't know about them. And then I found out about Real. And then the problem came to is, oh, this sounds too good to be true. The core values and stuff. So what you saw with Heather, and I love Heather. I mean, I just want her place, on the ocean there. And I love North Carolina too. So, but well, let's kind of get into branding, and then, so way we run things. This is this. Oops.
Did you come over as a private label, Mike, or
I didn't. I came over as a solo agent, and I had 5 of my 10 agents come over as solo, and I sponsor them.
Right. Okay. Private label is a pretty cool thing, to be honest, if that's what you did. But I think it's kind of, it all depends on where you want to end up and go. So that's fine.
The majority of my rev share, full disclosure, is we brought on the first team in Michigan before they hadn't even opened up private label to Michigan yet. And then someone reached out to me about the private label, and we made it happen. I'm one of those people where, so they wanted to do it. We were not on the ground to have it done yet. I have a tendency to be able to make things happen. And so we got them in under the private label. They're my biggest rev share part of my rev share tree. But as you get to know the company and you get to see it's not big hat, no cattle. It actually are all these things which I thought were going to be too good to be true are true. And then the biggest part is the culture in the cooperation versus competition. These are all buzzwords that you're going, no way is that the truth. And that 100% the truth. I've been here 4.5 years now, and it's 100% same then as it is today, just as strong, because it all starts at the top. So branding. So we're going to actually talk about it. So what I want to do real quick is I'm going to kind of talk about it in general terms, and then I'm going to give you some do's and don'ts. And since this is being recorded and somebody may come and stuff, and unfortunately, this is because we're not Katie Day, we're not social media stars and things like that. We do it in more of a personal interaction, things like that. So any questions you have, I'm very direct. I will tell you exactly what I've done and the mistakes I've made and things like that. And hopefully we want to help people not make some of the branding mistakes we make too. So my first point that I've just kind of free flown in my head was just one of the first things you want to do with branding is decide what focus of your real estate business is going to be. And so I think real estate's going to be going more to niches, okay? Zillow, Redfin, all these other ones, they can get the macro, okay? What's going to be important moving forward is more the micro. And so, like when I talk about some of the demographics that I want to move after is when I first got started in the business, I made a decision. You ever heard of a city called Ypsilanti? Ever hear of it? Probably not. So it borders Ann Arbor. You've probably heard of Ann Arbor, right? Ann Arbor, in this borders Ypsilanti. And when I bought my first house, I bought in Ypsilanti. And when people ask me, where do you live? I said, on the border of Ann Arbor. And then I wasn't in real estate yet. Then a year later, I got into real estate, and then I started looking.
You were born and raised here. Anybody?
I was born and raised in Ann Arbor. Yeah, but
we didn't acknowledge Ypsilanti for a long time.
but but the thing was is that so when I got in the business a year later, I saw how underserved Ypsilanti was, right? So what I did is I focused my business on Ypsilanti. And there's an old Ipsitucky. You border Kentucky. They used to refer to Ypsilanti as Ipsitucky. And it was the ugly stepchild of Ann Arbor type of mentality. And then I
We
got
had a
in,
bomber plant during the war, and people
Oh,
came up from Kentucky
and we have
to
hydromatic and
bomber
a
plant.
lot of blue collar workers
Oh
and things
yeah,
like that.
lot, but
But
wartime.
I decided that was going to be my niche. And so we ended up doing our marketing and things like that. And then kind of just developed that niche. And then we were we were selling about we had almost 20% market share for that whole city. We were so and no one else wanted to sell. And it was kind of like, it was the second alternative to Ann Arbor and things like that. And as we started building the business, it was no longer second fiddle to Ann Arbor. We had people actually looking to do an Ypsilanti. But I'm going to give you my biggest mistake in real estate just to kind of coincide with that. So
Biggest?
biggest mistake. My biggest personal mistake is my ex-wife. But that
Yes, I
doesn't
know.
nothing can even nothing. We could have a hurricane and that would be second to that. But anyways, and worst financial decision you could ever make is marrying the wrong person. So if you want that advice too, we can have that on another call. But anyways, what ended up happening is around 2006, I had the misfortune of having someone refer me $1 million buyer in Ann Arbor or seller, excuse me. And then I ended up selling that house. And then the builder didn't want to use me because I had that Ypsilanti reputation. But then that builder, after I sold that house that no one else could sell for 2.1 million, we actually double dipped it too. So we got both sides of it, 4.2 million. He referred me to another person that had a $1.3 million house, listed that one. Then I got one more because it was a dealership person, a Dundee Ford guy. He had $1 million house. I went and sold that one. Okay. So what did Dave think at that point? I'm hot shit. I'm going to go sell these $1 million houses in Ann Arbor, and I'm not going to be I'm not going to be doing that blue collar work in Ypsilanti where I own the market. And I got cocky and I changed my focus of my brand to Ann Arbor. And then what happened in 2006, 2007?
Mhm.
Market crashed. And then what ended up happening is all those people that, I was starting to get my traction in that price point, things like that, all went back to the traditional realtors that had built their brand in that price point. And then what was the first thing I tried to go back and do? I went back to try to get that market in Ypsilanti again because that had, paid my mortgage for so many years. I was gone. Nope, never. We've tried. We've tried hard to get back in that market. We still do a lot of business there, but we could have owned it. And I changed my who my focus was. So my suggestion is, and then the other part that's going to be happening moving forward is that whole niche part. So one of the things that you're going to want to do is, do you have a website or a URL or anything like that? Like www.michaelkelly.com or anything like that? Do you have something like that? Who? So what you want to do is you want to develop a URL, like a website that kind of signifies who your brand is. And so I'm gonna give you a quick reiteration of what we were. So I was originally David Mueller. So www.davidmueller.com, one of the first websites they probably sold back before they had color television. So davidmueller.com, and that was my brand, was David Mueller. Then I accidentally formed a team, didn't know what I was doing, and had people joining me and stuff like that. So it was no longer David Mueller. So I had to rebrand again, and I became David Mueller and Associates. And I loved my little ampersand, and people saw the ampersand, and that was kind of the brand, right? And so we had our logo and everything like that. And then people are like, are those attorneys or whatever? I mean, and then the next part of the thing is I knew that someday I wanted to get out of production. That was back when we were just crushing it. I was cocky. I was not going to have to work, and other people were going to sell stuff, and I was going to be on the beach with my tequila and with my Corona, overlooking the ocean. And I was calling in saying how much money we make today. So my goal was is that so when someone came up to the door, um, and it wasn't David Mueller, and it's David Mueller and Associates, everyone's thinking, where's David? Okay. Oh, you're giving me second fiddle. You're giving me an underling or something like that. So we knew right then that we were going to have to rebrand for the third time. And our third one was this, the DMA Real Estate. And for the reason for being is that, for one, is that if I was someone working underneath me, or we don't say they're working for me, they work with me, okay? But if they're working with me and they're saying I work with David Mueller and Associates, it's hard for them to be able to help brand themselves too. But if I say I'm Kathy Fourier with David Mueller and Associates, it starts getting convoluted, okay? But if I say I'm Kathy Fourier with DMA Real Estate, that kind of makes sense. They're also not expecting David Mueller to show up. But so why am I saying all this, and why am I going through those three progressions? What if I had thought a little bit more? You know, I was young when I got in the business, and I wasn't bright then either. But what if I thought about what my goal was going to be 20 years from now, about like the DMA Real Estate? I could have started my URL, dmarealestate.com. The other part too is David Mueller and David Mueller and Associates. People were spelled my name wrong, especially because my father says Miller, Miller, but it's spelled Mueller. So that was a whole nother thing. And we've had a family crisis. I'm one of 12 kids, and 6 of us say Miller now, 6 of us say Mueller. So I'm always asking when there's a party, are only the Millers invited, or can the Muellers come too? So, but if I had thought early on about being DMA Real Estate, I could have been consistent with my brand, and it would have been the same all along. We lost business when we went from David Mueller and Associates to DMA Real Estate, because my name was no longer associated with it. So these are all things that I wish I had thought of back when I started, back in 1993. So that's one of the things that I
also had to start putting his picture back on things.
Oh, it was because people reckon, and we did the picture. And so, yeah, when we do the mailings and stuff, I didn't want my picture on it because I wanted it to be just DMA Real Estate. But we did see a big difference when my picture was on it. Which I always thought that we'd lose business with my picture on it, but Kathy did some statistics or something like that, and we got business, so I had to agree to it. But all the other part.
We can give you an AI version now if you'd like.
Yeah, we got and the AI version is much more articulate and much more handsome than the real thing. So, but the whole thing comes down to is, I would start thinking, if I was to get back in the business and start over again, I would think about what my brand is. And then the other part would be is, do you really want to be like with your name in it and stuff like that? Is that where a majority of people are going to know your business? Or let's say, what city are you in again?
Chattanooga.
ChattanoogaMike.com or Chattanooga Kelly or something like that.
Mike sells Chattanooga.
Mike sells Chattanooga or things like that, is kind of think of who is my target market. And I think, and one of the things that's going to say is, one of the don'ts, which I will get into, is, you got to define your market. You can't be all things to all people. And trying to serve everyone, you need to develop a niche. And so my suggestion is figure out, where do I think the most of my business is probably going to come from? Is it going to be local? Is it going to be statewide? Is it going to be citywide? Is it going to be village wide? Is it going to be neighborhood wide? And how I say this neighborhood thing is when I told you about the Ypsilanti stuff, there was a certain neighborhood where there was a builder who did not co-op with realtors, right? And so the first thing that, and then a fellow realtor, a friend of mine, lived in that neighborhood, and she listed the first resale in that neighborhood. She ended up getting out of the business and said, Dave, would you like to take over this listing? Because I was Ypsilanti specialist. And I said, absolutely, I would love to do that. So we ended up, that was the number 1 resale in that neighborhood. This was back in 1995. We sold that. And then back then we would take pictures and go to Walmart or Costco and get pictures back. And then I would take it. And then actually back then I didn't have any money. So I would take it on a copier, put it together, put it on a copier, black and white, tri-fold it, take it to the post office. Because back then we had these stamp things that would give us a little bulk mailing stamps. And I would send it out. Ended up listing 88 of the first 100 resales in that neighborhood. So the first 100 resales, we got 88 of those sales. And they had to, and then the funny part was the nickname of the subdivision was called Mill Point. They changed it to Miller Point. I had people saying, oh, is that over in Miller Point? Making jokes about the fact that we owned that subdivision. Another one of my biggest failures. There's 10 houses coming up in that subdivision every week right now. And I don't have those listings. So Kathy and I, just so you know, I told her this week, we're going to the wall and we're going to go back and recapture that. Because we still have some name recognition, not like we used to, but I do have name recognition. We're going to go back and reclaim that. And then the other part that we're going to be doing is in Pinckney. I live in Pinckney, which is all the rednecks, they don't want them to live in Ann Arbor. So they want them to go out to Pinckney. So they pushed me out to Pinckney and made me go by there. And so all of us rednecks out in Pinckney, it's a real kind of down home kind of area. It used to be like a farming community and stuff, a lot of lakes and everything like that.
The lakes community.
But there's 9,000 residents in this
9,000 addresses.
9,000 addresses. We are now geographically farming that whole city. And then we're taking our brand and we're putting it out there. We're sponsoring Pinckney Players, which is, there's not a whole lot of culture in Pinckney, Michigan. Pinckney Players is probably the claim to fame for culture. So we wanted we're their season sponsor. And then we also send out free tickets to all of our clients. Hey, you want to go see a play? This is what it is. So the first thing, and I know I just kind of, unfortunately, I ramble. So that's part of getting old, senility, things like that. But the biggest thing though is pick an area that you want to have a niche. I think as we move forward, your niche should get smaller and smaller. Or if you start a niche now, then expand from there. But start a certain area like your neighborhood or your city, depending on, you're in a huge city, but it may be a certain township or something like that. And then most of your marketing should start there. Have a URL that represents that niche as well, that will be recognizable. It could, because what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to be consistent. So everything you send out, whether it's, if you do any direct mail, if it's social media, if it's your signs, you want that brand to be consistent. So the first thing is go out, get a URL. The next one is get a logo. So you'll see, like, I'm a little bit different than some people because they say your colors and everything like that should be the same all the time. So that's our logo right there. I don't know if you can see this. This is like a little directional sign. Mm-hmm. So it's different colors and stuff because I like lime green and purple and pink and stuff like that. So I wanted something, our first iteration, but
ooh, why is that yellow?
but you see what's, yeah, it's the camera, but you see what's consistent though, right? It's
Mhm.
the house, it's the DMA, it's the real estate. So even if it's a slightly different color and stuff like that, it's the same thing. And then when people see that, they'll kind of go, oh, that's that Dave dude. And a lot of times people will see your brand, your logo, and if they're not thinking about buying or selling real estate, it doesn't really, come into their consciousness, but it does go in their subconscious. And then when they get that call that they're being transferred to relocate, they go, oh, that's that Mike Kelly's logo and stuff like that. I need to call Mike. He's the expert in my area. I need to call him. And that's what's referred to as reticular activating system. That whole, I have to use that term. I have a trademark on that because I have a degree in psychology, and I promised my psychology professors that because it was a worthless degree, if I mention reticular activating system on any call or training I am, then it makes it worthwhile. And maybe another person will get a psychology degree. And I get 31 cents every time I mention the reticular activating system. 31 or is it 20? Might be 29 inflation. But the key though is being consistent with that brand. Okay. But the other big thing though is a logo. And so we've changed our logo a couple different times because if you think about it, well, what just happened with Real and Remax, right? Um, what's the biggest thing? What's the biggest thing that you know about Remax? That balloon,
Balloon.
that balloon, right?
Mhm.
And there's one pair of shoes that I absolutely love. I am I am a Nike guy, right? I love Nike shoes. What do you think about when you see a pair of Nike shoes? What what's recognizable about Nike?
It's always the swoosh.
The swoosh. So they did a great job of branding. So I try to use those examples. And then the other one, then Kathy gets sick of it. And I've kind of put it in the is the whole Kleenex thing, right? And she'll roll her eyes a couple times. But my the ultimate goal to branding is to become the Kleenex of real estate. And what I refer to that is that when you go to blow your nose and you ask somebody, what are you blowing your nose with? They almost always will say Kleenex. And that's not what they're blowing their nose with. They're blowing their nose with facial tissue. But Kleenex has done such a great job of associating their brand with the product that they use it as a common term. So what you will want to really do is from all this marketing and branding and things like that, is you just want the opportunity for someone to call you and say, hey, I've seen your branding on TikTok or Facebook. I saw your sign in my neighborhood. I got your Facebook post, and then I got one of your mailings, and I know you sell a lot of real estate. I want you to come over and give me a market analysis. All right, and and the majority of people that call me to come list their house, I'm in competition maybe 20% of the time. I'd say it's even less than that. I'd say probably it's 10% of the time. Almost all of our stuff, because of the way that we've branded over the years, are come list me's. But you need to develop that brand and have it be consistent. In other parts of branding that I think are important too are how you dress. Okay. So we had one of our top buyers agents. She was, crushing it. She probably made more money than I did. She would show up to appointments in a hoodie, a baseball cap, jeans, and some like tennis shoes. Okay. That was her personal brand, even though it was underneath my brand and part of DMA Real Estate. That was how people associated her when she came up to the door and everything like that. Okay. My brand, I will not go on an appointment. If I don't know the person, I am going to be minimum a sport coat, shirt, dress pants, nice pair of shoes. Most of the time, I'm going to show up in a suit. Okay. And I do hear people that say, well, Dave, dress to your clientele. It's $100,000 listing. Shouldn't you maybe dress down a little bit? I don't agree with that. First of all, it wouldn't be me because I'm more comfortable in this in business. Yeah, when I'm home, I'm in a hoodie and sweats, but I'm more comfortable in a business setting in what I'm wearing. Okay. And I believe that the $100,000 seller, they would like someone that's dressed nicely and professional just as much as my $2 million seller. Why would I dress any differently? Do you think they're going to? I did lose the tie a few years ago. I mean, I've got 100 ties. I lost the ties. But this is part of my brand as well. Kathy, the first time she saw me in sweats and stuff like that, had to do a double take. I've had the title company talking to them for 5 minutes the first time I started dressing more casually coming into the office. And they didn't even realize they were talking to me. And I've closed 3,000 deals with them because they didn't picture me in sweatpants and stuff like that. I looked good. Trust me, I looked good. But it wasn't what they were used to seeing me in. You know what I'm saying? Kathy even says, and she took me aside. I don't like you dressing like that. I want you to dress like this. And what? I 100%. I get it.
I don't know what he thinks about me, but that's okay. It just was weird.
But the other aspect of this too, like what I was saying about, when I started as David Mueller, then David Mueller and Associates, and then now we're DMA Real Estate. Think about the realtor you want to be in the business you want to have. Okay. And that should help you with your branding also. If you're able to think into the future and develop your brand now, the number one, again, Kathy, I've asked her this, the number one way to be successful in this business and the number one thing you have to be in this business, and it's number two is miles and miles away. What's the number one thing, Kathy?
System.
Consistency. Consistency is the key to this business. And it sounds boring, but I guarantee you that if you come up with your brand, you come up with your logo, the other aspect of that too, and this will get into the don'ts, and I'll run through the do's and the don'ts quickly, is let me go through the don'ts. The one don't. Never use your company email address. Like when I was at Keller Williams, never use a kw.com email address. You're a Coldwell Banker, never use a Coldwell Banker email address because they're going to be able to kick you out of that system. Or I guarantee you they have access to your email and will be able to, not that they're ever going to do that or anything like that. The other aspect is your email address is part of your brand. So I have a david@davidmueller.com email address. I still have that. It forwards to my other one. I have, actually, no, when we were David Mueller and Associates, I never tried to make that into a URL. It was still just David Mueller. Okay. But the first thing I did when we went to change to DMA Real Estate was, and one of the reasons we did was because DMA Real Estate was available. It's also a shorter URL. The shorter the URL, the better. And then the other part, they didn't have to spell Mueller.
Ask me how hard it is to type real estate over and over.
Well, you only have to do it once
harder than
nowadays.
Mueller. It was
But so when you're David at DMA Real Estate, or you're Mike or Michael at michaelkelly.com, that's every time you send out an email and everything like that, that's part of your brand. You're branding yourself. Okay. So that's why it's important immediately to make sure you've got an email system hooked up to your website and your URL. And all websites are nowadays are what business cards used to be. Okay. It's a landing page for people to come to. I don't think people come to your website to do business at all. I do think they'll check out your website to see how professional you are, because if you have a POS website, they'll say, is that going to be how they do business? Okay. It's very sloppy. There's spelling errors on things like that. It can be a detriment to your brand. But the whole thing comes down to is that your brand is going to be plastered everywhere. So you're going to have it on your website. You're going to have it on your email signature. You're going to, if you're doing TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. It's going to be that brand. And like I said, how many people we've sold what now about 5,600 houses, right? And that's not, I mean, that's not the reason, but how many of those 5,600 deals came from either Real, Keller Williams, or Edward Servo Realtors?
Yeah,
Zero.
but all right,
Referrals and things like that, that's a different ballgame.
find
So
my code.
that's why it's so important. And the other aspect of it too is, yeah, so if you decide you're going to leave Real and you're going to go to EXP, and you've got, well, Real's smart enough where they know they don't even give you really a Real. You have a kind of a Real address to get into Reason and things like that. But Real's smart enough to understand that you shouldn't be using a Real a broker website. So that's one of the things that I think is extremely important. The other part that uh, the other part that I put in here is do a dig deep about what your brand is about, and does it jive with your personality and your values. And I'm going to use this particular example. One of the people on our team wanted us to start doing videos where we started talking crass about houses and saying, oh, this piece of shit house, this, that, and the other thing. Because there's a certain person on TikTok that does that, gets a lot of clicks, and gets business from it, right? And she said, we need to get clicks. And
Wait,
I use kind of a profanity laced tirade on my response. I will not share that with you. But that was not my brand. That is not who DMA is. And under no circumstances will we do anything like that. And in full disclosure, we were going to go 100% into social media. I thought I was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Everybody was going to want to listen to what I had to say. And no one gave a shit what I think, say, whatever. Okay. But it took me a year to figure that out. And I thought, Emily, am I pretty? Oh, she's not going to touch that. So I thought, people are going to want to listen to me. And everyone said, Dave, you have a face and a voice for radio. Stick to radio. Don't get on camera. You're losing business. But seriously, what we use social media for is to reinforce our brand. We don't get a whole lot of business from it. We have changed our strategy. So every time you get on a Zoom call for us, I've got the same DMA Real Estate Real website background at my home. And every time I'm on a Zoom, you're going to see DMA, you're going to see Real. And I don't need to put the Real in there, but I do want to give exposure to Real. So people may ask, hey, tell me about this Real thing. And that's the extent of my attraction, is if people come to me asking me about it. I don't really reach out to people. I got to a point where I know what the value proposition is, and I'll help the people, like in my revenue share people. Hey, just pip me out. Have me get on a Zoom call with your people, because I know the value proposition inside out, both from a broker and from an agent standpoint. But be true to who you are. And to me, the number one thing with any type of a brand is have it be authentic to you, have it be something you're proud in. I'm proud of DMA Real Estate. I'm proud of what the brand stands for. And if you ask other people, just say DMA, that's all I'm Dave with DMA. You'll get some people that say I'm a prick, but they've negotiated against me. And being a prick and being a good negotiator can sometimes kind of, but
be the same.
yeah, but seriously, they know that we're professional. The deal's going to get done. Our buyers agents, when they write an offer on another listing, they know they've got myself, Kathy, Carrie, our admin people are going to be all on top of that. They're not going to have to do both sides of the transaction. So, I apologize. Someone wants to give me a loan. So I'm going to quickly go over the do's and the don'ts, because I've kind of kind of has gone on. And unfortunately, that's one of my
Best
flaws.
traits.
Flaws.
Best traits.
I like it. So I came up with 7 do's just as a kind of a, I'm not a list guy. Only time I like lists is when David Letterman did the top 10 list. If you ever watched Dave Letterman, I really like that. But
Do
I've got, I've got the top 7 do's regarding branding, and they're going to kind of, I think they're going to kind of bring in kind of what we've already talked about. Number 1 is define your unique value proposition. So we all have unique traits, okay? God knows I do. Um, and I say I'm only good at 2 things, okay? And that's why I developed a team, because I'm not very good at many things. And so I just do the 2 things I'm good at. But then the other big thing is define who your target market is. And then number 2, 100% is maintain brand consistency. So what's your brand? What's your logo? Now let's develop that into a larger marketing strategy and again, we'll do marketing on another Zoom, but being consistent, getting your brand out. And then one of the things that why I brought up that one crass realtor that said a bunch of stuff, I would look at it and cringe. And then you see that they have millions of views and things like that. And to me, it's like, oh, I saw I saw a social media post the other day from someone local, and I showed it to my partner of 15 years, and I showed the post and what her picture was, and Susan's response was, "What's she trying to sell?" So you can imagine what it looked like, right?
Mhm.
And
I
I'm
know
just
who
like,
it is.
and I'm thinking, WTF? What are you thinking? And this person does a lot of branding, it's a lot of nice stuff and everything like that. Then all of a sudden, it to me, it wasn't consistent. Well, it might be consistent with the brand, but um, I was just like, it shut it down for me where I didn't even want to see her stuff anymore. So be careful on that. Um, build a strong digital presence and then decide how you're going to do that. Like I said, I thought that I was going to come in with social media and I was going to have a million viewers and everybody was going to want to hear what I had to say because I'm the smartest person in real estate. And if you don't want to listen to me, then you don't know what you're talking about. That was my mindset going into it. I've got 33 years of experience. I've sold 5,500, blah, blah, blah. No one gives a shit. Give content that's valuable to clients. So we actually changed our approach to trying to get business, physically, hey, come sell my house and stuff like that. I actually do get business from Facebook because it's my demographic, old people like me and above. It reinforced the one I just closed one an hour before this. I did business with them a while ago. We got reconnected through Facebook, so I did get it through Facebook. Um, but we use it for branding. So I'm really only, I'm advertising our Be the 10% Mastermind, or I may give an opinion on Real Remax or something like that, or I may just or I see something happening in the industry and I'll say something about that, but no one cares about David Mueller or anything like that. So I'm trying to just go out there and give information and and just keep my brand out there. That's all I'm doing. Is Dave's not dead. Dave's alive. Okay. And that's really what I'm doing. You should all be doing much more than that. But Mike, you're a lot more handsome than I am. My guess is you might be able to get that from being handsome. I tried. Nope. Anyways, focus on specific media channels. So if we put stuff on TikTok and Instagram, do you think that's my target market? Do you think there's going to be any business coming from Instagram and TikTok? No. Where I get my and where I spend most of my time on social media is Facebook. I also do LinkedIn just from an attraction standpoint. Um, YouTube, we're trying YouTube, but it's not going to ever get us any business, I don't think. But we're going to put it out there, and we're also going to be consistent about who we are, and I'm being realistic about what it's going to do for me, and down the road or something like that. But I'm not going to go do some crass thing, or I'm going to go do a shot of me in the gym, you know, flexing because I'm this big dude and stuff like that, and maybe I'll do a little butt shot, get some business. No business. No, I'm not going to do that. That's not my brand. That's not who I am. Um, Create localized content for your specialized niche. So, like that Miller point, like this area that I want to go back and take over again, which is south of 94, and it's probably 19,000 households. Uh, and I'm going to be sending information about what's going on in that neck of the woods, or anything that might affect their home values or things like that. I'm not going to tell them about overall what's going on in the housing market, stuff like that. Hey, you got a garage sale happening, or there's the neighborhood garage sale, or that kind. Localized content will always win and get you business because it means you care about that local community. So that's where you really want to go down and keep it more micro. And then as you start to collect and get more business in the micro, then expand. But don't do that thing that I did where I forgot about the micro, went and got a totally different market, tried to come back, and they said, hell's no. You left us? No. Use personal touch. So we can use AI all you want. You can do all this other stuff. I can tell an AI bot from a personal touch 10 miles away. I don't respond to it. So Kathy's been on my case a lot about, personal cards, picking up the phone and calling. And here's the other reason why I think personal touch is extremely important is Sharon, who was, he's now part of the board. You probably know who Sharon is. One of the things that Sharon says so many things that it's hard to take, but one of the things that he said really spoke to me. So we've got 40,000 people in our database, right? And I see all these realtors, they do all these big, huge parties and client appreciation parties and things like that. But here's the truth to referral business. You're going to have about 10 of your clients, and it may start at 1 or 2 to begin with, but when you got 33 years in the business, mine's probably a little bit larger, you're going to have 10 people that are your biggest cheerleaders. They're going to be the ones that are going to get you 90% of your referral business, right? So rather than doing this big, huge party and having 500 people come that never are going to fricking give you any business and they're just going to eat your food and take your money, why not focus on those 10 people? Hey, I was thinking about you today. Hey, I haven't been to Nights in a little bit. I'd like to go have a steak over there. I'd love to invite you and your husband there. When are you free? Last time I did that, I got 3 deals from it, and and we didn't even talk real estate. Didn't talk real estate. Just got us in front of them, and gave us business. Also, one of the reasons why I love doing that, sponsoring the Pinckney Players, is we send out a thing to our people saying, hey, Pinckney Players is doing this play. Who wants a free ticket? And we only get a certain amount allotted to us for sponsoring them. And then Kathy's always like, well, we've already done them. Anybody that wants a ticket gets a ticket. You just send me the bill for whatever's afterwards. I'm not asking them for anything. I'm offering something to them, thanking them for their loyalty to us and things like that, even though we don't use that term or anything. I just want them, hey, I want to give something to you. I'm not asking for anything. So that when they think about business, they'll think of DMA. Okay. The last one, the last one for the do's, be authentic and be consistent. As you can tell, I'm a smart ass. I have a weird sense of humor and things like that, but that's what people know me for, right? I'm also 6'4", 250 pounds. People know me for that too, right? And I will flex. But people know me for that as well. So when people meet me for the first time, they're like, "Well, you're a lot taller in person." I said, "I'm a lot taller than my picture." But that is what part of my brand is my size and my voice, because I've been told my voice carries. They said, "Hey, plastic surgery, dude, then you'd be able to do that social media stuff." I don't make enough money to do social media, so or the plastic surgery thing. So so let me give you quick don'ts. All right.
Yeah. How many cups of coffee have you had?
Normal.
I told you to stop.
So I'm gonna go over the don'ts quickly. Don'ts. Cluttered designs. Don't use overly complex logos. Have it be very, very easy to see and recognizable. Not a bunch of fonts and colors and things like that. Don't have it be, it was kind of like our David Mueller Associates, and we did the ampersand and this kind of stuff. That was probably a little bit too much, even though I personally asked for the ampersand. But the DMA
No,
Real
it
Estate
was perfect.
isn't that pretty non-complex? And I'm not artistic enough to do anything more than that anyways. So yeah, don't use too many colors and fonts. You can make your brand appear amateurish. And one of the problems that we have is, so Dave likes these kind of colors and stuff like that. It may appear more amateurish than if we use more mute colors. I wanted to go for, when we were doing the rebrand, the bright colors to really make it pop. Now, what I'm going to be doing next, which Kathy has not given me the okay on, but I'm going to do it on our next set of signs, is I'm going to be putting these types of colors on a black background.
We're not doing the black background.
You might not be. David is.
We're not. It's black.
Don't you
on my
love consistency?
coat.
All right. Well, we got to go. Number 3, generic imagery. Just putting a generic, a picture of a house or something like that. Do imagery of you, like when I go up north to our little cottage, or as my ex-wife says, my summer retreat. It's 600 square feet and just got indoor plumbing this week. But it's
Yeah, dude.
my northern Michigan retreat. It's all about 570 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. Just got indoor plumbing. But I'll take pictures of that. I'll take pictures of Lake Huron. I pimp out my grandkids all the time. Hey, if I got to buy their baseball bats and stuff like that, I'm pimping them out. And I get more clicks on my stuff when I do the grandbabies. And then when I have my Newfie pup, my Newfie dog, anytime I do my Newfie, I got a lot more clicks. But Baxter he was stunningly beautiful. If I could have and I did transpose his face onto my body once, lots of clicks. The next don't, inconsistency. I think there's a theme here. Be consistent. Don't be inconsistent. Don't be a hidden agent. Don't wait until you have everything perfect. Consistency is better than perfection. What is that, Kathy? What do we say? Don't pull a K.
First ex-wife.
So I had someone that worked with me, and she was taking over this particular neighborhood. It was called Turnberry, and she sold three listings in a 3-week period, and then she was going to do a just sold card, right? You want to know how long it took her to do that card so that it was perfect for her? 3 or 4 months. And then in the 3 or 4 months, there were 7 deals that happened. And I finally just said, I said, get the effing postcard out. You're losing business. And she finally got it out. And was it any different than the original card she would have sent out 4 months earlier? Not really. No one would have cared. And she would have gotten 3 or 4 more listings. We call that don't pull a K.
Okay.
Don't pull a K. Get it out. Get it out. It may not be perfect. Consistency over perfection every single day. And like I said, and let people know you're an agent and things like that. Celebrate your successes as well. So when you sell something, send out a just sold to your database or your social media people and stuff like that. Number 6, which we talked about, and this is just as big, one of the big don'ts, trying to serve everyone. You can't serve everyone. You can't be, what is that whole master of none, something of something, master of none? Don't be that person. Develop your niche, go after that niche, and then after the niche, you perfect that, go after another niche or widen like a certain area. But focus on that niche. You can't be a master to all. You've got to get a niche, get that set of people, but have a clearly defined niche. Okay. Number 7, being someone else. Don't copy another agent's brand. You got to be authentic. And as you can tell with me, you'd be like, hells no, I would never act like this idiot. 100%. We're all different. We all have different personalities. Some people will like my personality. Some people will actually think it's atrocious and say, I'll never listen to this MF again. That's the great thing about this business and this world, is that there's someone for everybody, and everyone has something that they're looking for. But the moment you are not authentic, they will sniff you out, and especially from social media to who you meet in person. That's the biggest thing, because I'm not the person you go to for social media advice. But if you are one person on social media trying to be this certain person, and then you are different in real life, that will be a disconnect. You will lose business. Be exactly who you are. And I guess that's one of the things that I actually enjoy about social media. I'll go on and be a goofball or something like that, and I have no problems doing it because that's my personality. And for the people that like that, as opposed to this button up, stodgy SOB, that's just really, and again, I know the suit and the pink shirt and everything like that, you're thinking, man, this guy's uptight. Nah, but if you see me in social media, nah, anyone that's going to wear pink with his suit is very secure about his masculinity, or absolutely doesn't understand masculinity at all. One or the other. Don't ignore your sphere. Failing to connect with existing database makes branding ineffective. We do all these things to get new business. We spend all this money to get new business. We already have a database of people that already trust us and want to do business with us and have done business with in the past, and we ignore them. And we're spending all this money on people that have no clue to who we are, who the hell we are. And all these people that we're not connecting with in our database are going to go buy from someone else that's branding, that's connecting with them and things like that. Rule number 1, the first thing when a new agent comes to me and says, Dave, what's the first thing I need to do? Write down every single person that you know that might buy or sell real estate from you in the future. And I've got a questionnaire thing that has 300 questions to ask yourself. Your stylist, your mechanic, your teachers, this, that, the other thing that I went through a phone book. We had phone books back when I got in the business. We didn't have cell phones or any of that kind of stuff. Actually,
Or logos.
Can to can. But we had phone books, and I went through my local Ann Arbor phone book to jog my memory of anyone that I might know that might buy or sell real estate. And the biggest thing we try to do is make sure that you're touching them, because these are people that have already gone past that whole, again, I look at this all as dating. I think real estate's dating. And when you get to have a client and you broke through it, and then you come to know each other and they want to do business with you, you've already gone through the hard part, right? Now you're going out and doing that hard part a bunch of times and spending all this money, and you're neglecting the very people that will give you the most business. All right. Last, keep the F away from unethical behaviors. Okay. We have developed our brand over 33 years. Be fiercely protective of your brand, your reputation, and who you are. and what your brand stands for. If there's a gray area ever in your business where you've got to pick between stepping over the line and not stepping over the line, it shouldn't even be a question. When we have something where a client comes to, and it's not even unethical behavior. I'll have a client that will come and it's their fault that something happened or something like that, but they feel like they've been wronged and everything like that. I'm going to take care of them. I don't care if they're right or wrong. Now, there does come a thing where someone's totally unreasonable and you don't ever want to do business with them and they're just psychotic. And now I'm not talking about the ex-wife. This is the actual client. But we'll take care of them. We'll take care of them. I don't ever want someone to say that DMA Real Estate didn't take care of the client. And then go badmouth me on social media and stuff like that. And we've had maybe one or two people do that in 33 years. And I will respond too. And I will respond in Dave-like manner, professional, but very direct and to the point. But we spent 33 years developing our brand, our reputation, who we are. It takes one unethical behavior for that all to just be gone. I mean, think about some of the examples, just locally here, like Sharon Moore, or something like that. So someone that had the world by its tail and everything like that. But there's a million things. Think about Lance Armstrong. And has he ever fully recovered from that reputation? I don't know. I don't look at him the same way as I did prior to knowing that. And then because everyone else is doing it, is that a reason? Think about all the people that you know and respect and love. And if they skirted that line, would you have the same feeling for them? So all these things we're talking about don't mean jack shit if you do one unethical behavior. Everything you built for all these years, but ultimately, we're the keeper of that. So if someone underneath me or one of the people that represents my brand goes out and does something unethical, it reflects on me, and I will address that. One good thing the number one thing that my father taught me, I'm one of 12 kids, is to each one of the children, every moment you go out there into the world, remember this. Everything you do reflects on the family and the family name. And the reason I bring it up is because when my father passed away and he was a principal of Tappan Junior High and this, that, and the other thing, what we really found out, no one ever said a negative thing about my father, ever. And you're talking 500 kids every semester at school and all this kind of stuff. But my father was the greatest man. My father was the greatest man I ever met. And to this day, by far and away, the greatest man I've ever met. To have that as your role model is something that's huge. But the fact that, and he was someone that just kind of, he didn't have very many rules. My mother did. My father didn't. That was his one thing. Just remember that every time you go out there, you're reflecting on every one of your brothers and sisters, your mother and myself. And that's what I kind of tell people. And that's why I'll say your marketing and your branding should be consistent with that as well. And don't let anyone that works with you, around you, and I don't care if it's part of your team, if it's another real broker agent. If it's another real broker agent and they're being, if they're acting like that doesn't represent the real brand, it's your obligation to bring it to someone's attention or to have a conversation saying, you know what, we work hard, be kind is our motto, and we are all connected by that. So that, God, I almost sound like a preacher there. So what questions do you have? What questions does anybody have? Emily been really quiet.
She's still with us?
I don't know. I think she tuned out. I think she tuned out a while ago, but
He should know.
any questions on anything that we talked about today?
I think a lot of mine is I'm coming over from an independent brand. It was my baby. I designed the logo. I have an art background. I'm prior military. Everything. I believe in that integrity. If I didn't like an agent that wanted to change everything about my brand, I said, well, maybe you're a better fit somewhere else. Um, and I believe in honesty. I've been doing this for 15 years. I started as a broker assistant with Remax, making minimum wage with a business degree in 2008 because nobody would hire me with a degree. So I worked 4 jobs. I would go bartend, which, that and being a sailor, I can say anything to anybody. I have very, very thick skin. So, I did my boot camp in Great Lakes, or Great Mistakes, as they used to call it. December of 1990, the coldest I've ever been in my life. Maybe that's why I like the South a little bit better. But I'm at a crossroads of who has when you talk about who you actually used to sell with when the market changed. I grew up with nothing, and the people that I had next to me also had nothing. Thankfully, the people I'm with still to this day, we've all kind of been somewhat successful, and the price points have changed. But I
Yeah.
still have a good following of those people in, 100, 200, $300,000 homes.
Yep.
And I don't want to forget them, but I'm also thinking I would like to slow down. And what's the thing? Maybe you still work as hard regardless of the price point. But, instead of doing 60 transactions, maybe I want to do 7 or 8 or 10 that are a million. You're going to make the same amount of money, but sometimes I think, hey, I do want to slow down. Then the market changes, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to get back busy again. And
Well, you heard about my biggest mistake.
mhm,
Was something similar to what you're talking about right now.
yeah,
Exactly what I went through and did. And so one of the things is that we're always going to be most comfortable in the price point that we grew up in. And that's just the way, that's just the facts of the world. So I grew up in a middle class family. So when I got into the business, I was mainly most comfortable around middle class um, people. In Ann Arbor, middle class is probably very different than what it is in the South. Um, but working class though, even though we were professional, well educated, and things like that. So I was most comfortable starting out in that. But then I also was a little bit more intimidated by people that had money when I was younger. Now I understand there's no difference between a $2 million listing and a $200,000 listing. Just that the $200,000 listing appreciates me more than the $2 million.
mhm.
But the question comes down to is if you want to get into the higher price point, first of all, how are you going to do that? And then what you're going to want to do is your brand's going to have to be more feel like more of a premium brand. In doing things like getting your luxury designation or something like that would be something I look into as well. And then I would probably have more of a higher end logo and brand and probably be a little bit some of these don'ts, which would be less complicated and things like that. I probably actually have it be a little bit more complicated, meaning that it looks a little bit more higher end. So then the other part that I'd really ask myself is, do I really want that higher end market? And the other aspect is how do I break into that higher end market? Do I already have a lot of are there already a lot of agents in that market that I'd have to compete against? Or is it easier for me to get business in this lesser price point because there's more turnover? And truthfully, I think you make more money um, I think you make more money, in the lower price point doing a few more deals, and I don't think it's really any more work. But again, if I had to do it over again, I would have stayed in that price point and never done just it did the higher end ones when they came. And we probably at least do $1 or $2 million listings a year. It's not a ton of them, and I have 150 transactions. We've got a 1.4 coming up. But I mean, do you really want to do that? And then your database? Who's in your database right now? What price points currently in your database?
Yeah, so mine, I've probably got about maybe 300, 350 that I actually stay in contact with. They are the ones that found me on social media. Um, I'm almost 80% on Facebook. Just word of mouth and its repetition of being in front of people.
Yep.
Where are we now? It's funny when the market has changed in the past couple of years. The 150s used to be everything a starter home. Now it's probably 300, 350.
300 starter home. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to get somebody in where it's not a POS, a full rehab. So that anywhere from there to say five, 600, that's my common person.
So my suggestion would be I would start, now this new endeavor, I would start with, your database and who you're kind of working with. But remember what I was saying about think about where you want to be in 3 to 5 years and maybe start now developing your logo and your branding to be more higher end so that you can net because I also find that in the 3 to 500,000, if you take care of them, they know people in the upper price points, and then in 2 to 3 years, they may be the ones that are looking at the 800,000 to $1 million homes and stuff, which I found, but I mean, mine's on a 33-year basis. That it's a lot of the mid-price ones like 3 to 500,000 that leads me to my $1 million business as well. But if your bread and butter right now is at 3 to 5, I would not lose sight of that. But I'd be looking at within 3 years, I want to be doing more luxury, and then how do I make that happen? So the 3 to 5 is going to pay your bills while you're putting this all together and thinking about it. But I start developing that brand now, and what that looks like, and think about logos or URLs that will help give the perception of being a higher end realtor. And then I would also be on Zooms with the higher end realtors within Real Broker, which you have a lot. Go look at Brad McCallum, who's a big social media star, and some of these other ones. And Heather, Heather's, I mean, her business is probably more like ours, where her bread and butter is the 3 to 5, and then they do stuff million plus. But her personality is such that everybody loves her. And that's just who she is. But I think she would be someone that I would look for a mentor too, especially if she's your sponsor. Is say, hey, this is where I want to be in 3 years. How do I get there? And you both use. I mean, I went to her specific class, the first Rise, because I wanted to hear how she did Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And it's someone I respect because she's never changed in all the trials and tribulations she has. I'm a dog person as well, but she's just talk about someone that's authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Her and her husband, they don't come any more authentic than that. But I think that would be someone that I would model my business after and say, hey, Heather, I want to get into the upper price points. How can I develop a brand and a logo that would help me get there? And she's Southern as well. So that she can probably help you in that regard as well.
Yeah, she's been great. Being prior military, I went to the military division, got that designation to be in that group. So for any PCS or anybody, we don't have a whole lot of bases here, but it's the whole being prior military. I had to do it, and I did have the sales background, so I got my luxury designation 2 days ago. So.
Perfect. Congratulations.
So thank
Yep.
you. Thank you. It's
Well, that puts you in a room. That's put you in a room with other people that are trying to do the same thing you are that have already been there. So success leaves crumbs, and there's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
right.
Yeah, I'm not the person to talk to about luxury listings just because we do more volume, but
Mhm.
then we kind of get into the $1 million part. But the thing is that the people that are doing that on a regular basis, and what type of marketing techniques are they doing to reach these people? And a lot of that's going to be social. I think you have an advantage. Believe it or not, I'm an introvert. So you've got a big advantage over me to begin with, because you can get yourself into rooms of people that are $1 million clients potentially down the road. Whereas I don't like to be in the rooms just because of being an introvert. So I would take advantage of that, and then I would also be scaling my social to where my target market's going to be. So country clubs or something like that. I mean, hey, I may not golf, but hey, why don't I kind of learn how to golf or something?
Hmm.
Or, the Chamber of Commerce, or, different things like that. Where can I put myself in a position to meet people? Because you can do social media and all this stuff all day long. And this is where I'm old school. Nothing beats being in front of somebody and belly to belly, talking to somebody. I'm a body language reader, so I can tell if someone's lying to me or doesn't want to be near me or anything like that by their mannerisms. Again, psychology degree, but being one
Hmm.
of 12 kids more than anything else. So, but being in front of somebody, nothing will ever replace that, ever. I mean, all this AI and social media, and I think people yearn for that even more now. And I know my client, I mean, my target market, which are by 50 plus, yearn for it, because they're so sick of, getting on a phone and then, having people from other countries that they're talking to, and then AI be automatically dialing them, and then, Mojo dialer dialing them, stuff like that. And it's AI. I just saw a negotiation where someone just puts the AI on it with a car dealer and let them negotiate it. So I think people are craving that personal connection, personal touch, and and to me, $1 million sellers and $2 million sellers are no different in what they're looking for, other than some do want to have a name brand. Just the same reason why, if it's someone that drives a Mercedes or a BMW, some of them just drive that for the status. Whereas the millionaire next door, which is more my in Ann Arbor, it's a big millionaire next door type of people. You never know any one of these people had money,
Hmm.
but I know where they all hang out. And if you walked into this restaurant, you would think that they're all a bunch of farmers that don't have two nickels to rub together. They all drive Jeep Cherokees, 15-year-old Jeep Cherokees. So it's knowing that there's different type of luxury sellers and buyers. Where do I find them? And then what, again, be true to yourself. Which ones will I connect with more?
Hmm.
So it's all about being true and authentic. And then, because if you're having to put on airs to get business, and let's say you're not the Mercedes BMW type, you're more the Jeep type, that would affect how I would do business.
Hmm. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just, and then being down south as opposed to being the Midwest, I think it's a little bit different too. And one of the reasons why I want to get down south, um, and we're looking for a place, down south at some point. Southern people are just, I love the South as far as Southern people.
Mhm.
Midwesterners are definitely a different breed. I
Well,
know.
I'm originally from Jersey, so I know it's night and day. And the further you go out, the more southern they are and genuine. They're not trying to impress anybody or be somebody else. And I agree. Some of the most wealthiest people are there in ripped jeans and a beat up truck. But I didn't grow up that way, and that's who I gravitate towards because even my wife will say, "Well, we'll go to some nice place," and I'm like, "I don't like any of these damn people," you know, and I don't know them, but I'm sharp to say that we would never hang out.
It was interesting. I once went to with a friend of mine, or it was a date, and we went to this place called Sidetracks. It's a bar. It's a bar that I absolutely love in Ypsilanti. Okay, And this person I was with was kind of turning their nose by everybody because it was working class around us and stuff like that. And I go there because these are my people type of thing. And then when she said that about who the people were there, and these are all hardworking people that I guarantee you had 10 times more money than she ever would ever have and stuff like that. And she was making judgments and stuff. And I was like, I knew that that was not the person that was going to be around me. But again, it's something that we're all comfortable around certain. And I also, but I'm probably that's why I don't teach or coach or anything like that because all these coaches say you need to get outside your comfort zone to be successful in real estate, and I disagree with
Yeah.
that. I disagree
Yeah.
with that. There's so many ways to generate business in real estate, and my when I do do classes for newer agents, I tell them it's the old finding out when spaghetti's done. You throw up against the wall and see what sticks. And so try open houses. If you want to try cold calling expireds or FISBOs or whatever, go ahead and do that. If you want to do geographical farming, if you want to do social media, if you want to do this, that, and the other thing. But here's the deal is that try these different things, and then you're going to find one or two things that you really enjoy doing, and then perfect those. Become master those. And then once you master that one technique, then go out and try to find another one. For me, it was open houses. Like I said, I'm much better in front of people than I am over a phone or anything like that. And I can read them, they can read me. I'm able to just, people don't like salespeople. They don't like, they think all realtors are the same. But when they come in and, oh my God, that's a Lincoln LS. Did you get the automatic or the stick shift? Oh man, I wanted the stick shift, but I can't do it. The wife can't drive a stick and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's the four banger or the six cylinder and stuff like that. So I would just do stuff like that. It's not made up. That's just who I am.
Mhm.
Um, and then before we didn't even talk real estate, and the wall came down, and then they would just open up and they would say hey, would you help us? would you mind helping us? And so they were asking me to be the realtor and stuff. So that's how I was raised in the business, and that's why all this social media stuff and everything like that, it's all fine and dandy. And that the people that get business from it, but truthfully, I see a lot of these social media stars or Instagram, TikTok, and things like that, and I'll do a little thing where I go in on Zillow or something like that, and I'll just see how many transactions they've done,
Yeah.
and they've
Hardly
got
any.
5 transactions for the past 12 months, but they've got 1 million followers. So
Mhm.
what are we trying to accomplish here? I guess is the part. And we have someone locally. I mean, I have a little joint venture on a title company. I was just talking with the title person. This one person was complaining about her check that she got for this joint venture, and and she's on social media everywhere and stuff like that. And that was the one that I was saying, "What am I selling here?" Or I saw
Mhm.
the post, and she's not selling any real estate. I mean, but she's posting 7, 8 times a day. So that I look at the whole part of it, and that's when I also looked at it and said, you know what, I'm going to do it to reinforce my brand because you have to be on these sites, but I'm not going to ever do anything other than just putting hopefully something of value out there. We do post our listings and all that kind of stuff and everything, but that would be my suggestion. And get in the rooms of the people that are doing higher end stuff. Get on Real Brokers, see like follow Brad McCallum,
Oh
um,
yeah. Yeah.
just because I mean he does social media to me the right way. The homes that he lists, these luxury homes
Oh,
and stuff,
it's yeah.
he just does such an amazing job with the video and things like that, and how he describes them and everything. And that's I lean more toward that. And then like someone like Heather who does it more Facebook, and she tries the other ones and stuff, but she knows Facebook's her bread and butter.
Mhm.
And then there's other people that they only do new construction. They just do videos of new construction, but see, they're finding their niche, and that's what I love about them. It's the people that I mean, there's some people that do social media that are very popular that I'm just like, I no. So, but it's just like anything else. Find a few people that you like how they do business, follow them, ask them advice, and the difference you'll find at Real Brokers, I guarantee there's not one person that you can't contact that won't give you advice or get on a Zoom with you and things like that. That's very different. My last one was Keller Williams, and they wouldn't do it there. And I'm not cutting down Keller
Oh
Williams.
yeah, it's the same thing here. We have 2,700 agents in Chattanooga. Um, 70% are KW. I mean, like it's close to, I think we have two main offices. One has 450 and the other one has about 375. One actually took over a junior college and made it its office. It's unreal. But I've always said that it's funny, they're a $1 billion company in Chattanooga and they make more money off the agents than they do in sales. They're making $1 billion a year in Chattanooga,
Yeah.
and that's just, the fees and everything else. So do they care about the integrity or quality of, handling a client or customer? I don't think so, but you still only have 10% of those people making money, you know?
You're being generous by saying that because the Ann Arbor office is literally 50 yards from, and that's, I was out of that one. And we had 250 agents in that office. I think there was 10 out of 250 that did more than $3 million in volume, and 80% of them didn't sell anything. But they were collecting that monthly fee every month. And then I knew the bookkeeper, what the CP, or I can't remember what the name is. It's been such a while, but the person that kind of is the accountant type person.
Hmm. Hmm.
And she said, Dave, 70% of these credit cards bounce each month just with
Wow.
that one amount. And I'm looking at these people, and then the other part was I would come and walk around the office, and then they're all playing charades or not charades, but the one card
Like
thing,
solitaire or something.
solitaire. And I'm like, well, are they really doing business? I mean, why are they even here? But the Keller Williams model, that's what it is. And I kind of got hooked in. I built a team before teams were even a thing, and then went to Keller Williams to try to find mentorship to help build a team bigger.
Hmm.
And then, but the profit share was something that was appealing to me. And then when I actually saw how that all went down and how they would just flip things as far as being a expense to the office as opposed to expense to the owner, and how they would just manipulate the numbers and stuff, it just made no sense. And so when I saw the revenue share model, it was kind of like this makes sense. But the only way a revenue share model makes sense is not to have all that brick and mortar, all the overheads, all that kind of stuff, and it's just and we run. I think Tamir, if you were on that call for the Remax call,
Hmm.
uh, there's one admin for every 90 agents, whereas like EXP, it's one admin for every 45. Just showing how um, efficient everything is at Real, and so I just bought more stock just because I believe in this company more than anything. They've done
So
all
do
right.
I. So
They've
do I. Actually, Brad was the first one I started talking to about 8 years ago, and he wasn't even with Real. And I started following him. Now, yes, come to find out, the guy was a theater major, which I will never ever be as dramatic in all his hands and things like that. But he would give me routine advice if I just asked, and I said that's the one thing I liked about it. And then he came on board with Real, and then I started following people like Brad Tompkins and some of the same guys that are all now the ambassadors of growth.
Yep.
Um, that it's great that yes, I still know some local agents, but I'm actually friends with all these guys. And Heather kind of hinted around for me to come, and I said, I appreciate it, love you guys, but not really being forced and to make that decision, I just snapped my fingers and said, yes, I'm doing this. And
And that's the difference too, is people aren't going to be high pressure or anything like that. They're just like, they'll check in with you to say, hey, you know what, how's business going, stuff like that. You
Mhm.
know, have you considered real and things? But we're just, I think that's the difference is it's more of we're here to answer any of those questions when you get to that point when you're ready to make the move. And
Mhm.
and as I tell anyone when I talk to people is if I have to talk you into joining Real Broker, it's not the right brokerage for you. Period. I mean, someone shouldn't have to, it should just have to align with your morals, your values, and your business, where you just, this is the right place to be. The company should sell itself.
Mhm.
You have to make that decision whether it's the right place for you. For me, it was, I mean, it was the easiest decision I've made. It was the best and the easiest. And I know it sounds like a clickbait, but 100%, it was the easiest and best decision that I made in my real estate career.
Oh, mine too. I feel that I'm just going to keep growing with them. I have the support system, especially, having your own brokerage. Who can we talk to? Who can we rely to? We couldn't talk to anybody,
Oh,
and still at the same point, I'm like, damn, if I have a trouble transaction, can I call one of my old brokers? Sometimes I can. They all loved me, but it makes it difficult when you don't have a shoulder. And yes, probably for Tina Baker, I'm one of the easiest agents she has because I've been a broker for so long and sold 1,000 homes.
yeah.
And she's like, just do what the company says and check the checklist. I mean, we have a transaction coordinator, which is great. And I'm like, there's really nothing I need to pay for besides figure out my niche and get this dang website going enough where I can funnel people to. Um,
But
that's what
make
I'm
sure you
trying to
do.
do.
Yeah, but just make sure you did put a lot of thought into that because I think one of the problems is that people it's a very short thought process. They just go with something, not really putting a whole lot of thought into it. But you thought about who your target market is, um, but I would think about, yeah, who's going to pay my bills for the next 12 months, because I don't want to alienate them, but where do I want to be in 24 to 36 months? And then I would start that as my brand now, just as far as the logo and website and things like that, because that stuff's not going to alienate your current clients, but it's going to help you prep, to start walking to those rooms, and people are going to go check out Mike Kelly's website and stuff, and logo and all kind of stuff, and that will be important to them. That
Yeah.
when they say this is my realtor, they want to make sure all that other stuff looks like it's befitting a million dollar listing. So.
Sure. Yeah. Even if it's not. So that's the whole thing. Any price point.
Yeah, so that's my email address in the chat. So feel
Okay.
free, and Kathy Kathy at, and then if you ever need help with reason or any of that kind of stuff too, Kathy is just ridiculously intelligent with all that.
Awesome.
When we ran the state, I handled all the problems and all the stuff, and then Kathy did all the back end stuff because that's just what she does real well. But 24/7, you email me, you can call me, whatever. Anything I can do to facilitate, just let me know. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah. Sounds good. I'll get on some of your channel social media and maybe bounce some ideas off each other.
Absolutely. Take care, Mike.
I
Have a great.
appreciate it. Thanks, Dave.
All right. Bye bye.